time for Inside the Gamecocks, the show with Phil Mullinax and J.C. Sherbert.
So, how many of you would say you speak English fairly well, but with some difficulty?
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
You play to win the game.
Now, let's take it away, J.C. and Phil.
Happy Hump Day, everybody. I'm J.C. Sherbert. He's Phil Mullinax. We are here.
We are.
Carpool today. Boy, what an adventure. You know, the youngest one, we call him Turtle Feet sometimes because he's slower than Owl Poop. And so I go to pick him up. They're over at their dad's, right? And so I go to pick him up. It's right near the school. I'm late because I got in a message board conversation that I looked up. It was time to roll. So I rolled. I go, stop by, plenty of time, finally get them, stop by the store. And for some reason, they're paving this dang road. And they're paving the intersection I got to take a right on. And it just, I really literally just rolled in here. And that's why we're a little bit behind. But we want to welcome all of you in today. Jamie Bradford joining us second hour on to Vanderbilt. Should be a pretty interesting Marcus Satterfield press conference later today. You know, Clayton White, he's got the easiest job of anybody because everybody wants to hear from Limbo because he's great, about the pressers and entertaining and stuff like that. His units are doing a good job. And then everybody's always kind of like, it's like watching a train wreck. What's Marcus Satterfield going to, what excuse is he going to use this week, right? And then Clayton just gets up there and answers a few questions and he's done. So, on the Wednesday coordinator press conferences, Clayton White's a lucky man. He can just go out there, say a few things, and get back to work. Of course, his unit needs to get off to a good start against Vanderbilt Saturday night. Gamecocks and Commodores, 7:30 p.m. kickoff. Today's poll question I have not put on Twitter yet. I will do that during the first break, but it's just the over-under for the game, 47.5 per Caesars Sportsbook online. It'll probably fluctuate between now and then. Interesting number, a lot like the Missouri game, which I think was around 45, and of course that game went under. I don't know. Vanderbilt played pretty good on defense against Mizzou. Hadn't exactly played super duper on defense for the rest of the season. I don't know, kind of weirdly what to think about their defense. I think historically, Phil, we look at Vandy and we're like, well, they're usually okay on defense and can't move the ball on offense, but they've moved it against some people this year, scored some points against Ole Miss. They struggled with the better teams. Georgia, unfortunately, Vanderbilt's had to play Georgia and Bama this year. Couldn't run the ball well against Missouri, 57 yards, but the Gamecocks actually were worse with 32. Here's my thoughts. I think that, we all are looking for a silver lining and for some hope when things go bad. We always look for hope. I think here's your hope. Marshawn Lloyd's healthy. When he's out there running the football and doing well and looking good doing it, this offense gets enough. It's got to get help from the defense. You can't have a big, leaky, bad defensive game. It's helpful when you get special teams plays too. I'm not gonna sit here and say this offense is going to go out and win 2 of the next 4, 3 of the next 4, whatever. What I am going to say is with Lloyd, he does a lot sort of just on his own, being Marshawn Lloyd. And so I think that's big. And I don't know that as bad as Carolina's offense was against Missouri, it was kind of an exposure of sorts with the offensive coordinator not knowing what the heck to do once his star running back went out. I think that, that's the silver lining is when he's in there, it's kind of hard to screw it up.
Yeah.
And Carolina can get enough points, I think, to win its share, I'll just say that, of the next 4 games. Now, obviously, if we look at down the road to Tennessee and then Clemson's a big bugaboo, right? And they're fourth. It's the number 1 and 4 teams in the country. The next 2, though, I think South Carolina can go on the road and win.
Yeah, you get a shot. And I love Lloyd's confidence to, especially in the press conference yesterday, because he was just like, if I'd have been able to stay in the game, things would have been different.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't getting much help up front because Missouri was attacking. But the good news about what he did was he was just running around guys and finding what holes were there. I mean, he got off to a great start because I was sitting there. You could see Missouri's defensive line getting penetration, and he just outrun them, go to the corner, shift. I mean, he's really coming into his own. And just people I talked to this week say, Marshawn Lloyd, can help. I think the offense, a good idea or a good thing to look for. Can this offense, at least for most of the game, because Brad Crawford had some ugly stats about 3 and outs and things like that, and those are absolutely true, and that's why, I said I was going to give it a chance, but I haven't been a fan of this offense since, through 21 games, right? But if they can get kind of similar at times to the second half against Kentucky, and then maybe the second half, those drives they had against A&M, where they're kind of running it and throwing it, they can get there. It's not a lost cause. It's not like 1999 where everybody's injured and it's a bad system anyway because Lou was trying to run his Notre Dame stuff and you didn't have a quarterback and there was all these injuries, or like the 2018 defense at the end when they're running out people that had no business playing and giving up 800 yards to Clemson, or like the pandemic year where you had 50 guys on the roster, you just had no shot. There's still a shot, and I'm not trying to quote Top Gun, I'm not trying to blow sunshine up your butt, Lieutenant. Okay. I'm just saying like it is. There's a reason, that you could look at these next 2 games and say, Carolina can win. They can win. It's not going to be easy. They're 2 road games. The Swamp is in particularly not a fun place to play. But they've lost some games down there this year. They got A&M this week. The Gators do. But, Carolina's a 7-point favorite at Vandy. Probably about right. I think given what happened last year, this team has to have Carolina's attention. I think they're tricky because of their 2 quarterbacks, right? And then the young guy, Swan, is really good. They're at home. They're not going to be scared of South Carolina, nor should they be, because they lost. South Carolina, Zeb Nolan helped win that game last year, but the Commodores lost it. I mean, they sat back in a prevent defense and just let Carolina throw all over them. And, they could have scored a touchdown and ended the game at the end. Zach Pickens and company with a great play. Zach Pickens saved 2 touchdowns in that game. South Carolina has an opportunity on both lines of scrimmage to go up there and play well Saturday night. And as Bradford's been saying, through the 4-game win streak, 2-game losing streak, Missouri game, whatever, it just sort of is what it is with Marcus Satterfield in this offense. It is what it is. Yep. And I'll get to this. A lot of people, especially on the Big Spur, people are just pulling stuff out their butt because they're so desperate for change and want him gone. Look, guys, Shane, I said this before, Shane Beamer's not an idiot. He's not going to sit there and keep doing something over and over again when it's not working, and we've had 21 games worth of a sample size. And, last year the talent was used as an excuse. First year in the system was used as an excuse. This year you get Spencer Rattler in there and, he's regressed. He hadn't gotten any better. He's the same guy he was at the beginning of the year. In fact, against Missouri, he looked more confused than ever. Throws beautiful passes. Good coaches, by the way, set their players up for success. Like Jaheim Bell, I'm not buying any of that about being in. My guess is that they decided to just go ahead and evaluate Jaheim as a tight end and decided that, it's just too hard to play him at other spots or you're so married to your personnel groupings that, they sort of are what they are. Mm-hmm. So I'm not buying that either, but good coaches put their guys in position to be successful. That's what a coach is for. Otherwise, players would just go out there and play themselves, right?
Yeah. Go line up where you want to line up.
Let's go play backyard.
Run what you run.
Backyard ball. But, so that's the deal there. Shane Beamer's not done. I see a lot of people, too, like upset because Shane won't make a move now. And I'm just going to say this, and I don't know, right, so Freddie Kitchens, for example, everybody says, "Oh, well, Freddie should take over play calling," which I don't think is a bad idea. Simply because he's done that as an interim coordinator before twice in the NFL and gotten things somewhat stabilized and better. But I'll say this, do you really want to do that a third time and be handed an offense that's not yours that you have to call and you're not really, because look, everybody's on the same page philosophically as far as how they coach their position and teach the offense and all that. I can tell you right now, the philosophies, there's probably like 3 guys that could call plays. Justin Stepp, that philosophy is way different than what Sad has. Freddie Kitching, slightly different philosophy, even though he did come from the NFL. And he would be the most qualified, I would think. And then Nick Coleman, a graduate assistant, who has a way different offensive philosophy as well. So, you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, and that's sort of sometimes, when you have a CEO head coach, that's if it were special teams, he could take it over. You're kind of stuck, and look, I'm not gonna. I think certainly Shane Beamer is not above criticism for making the hire to begin with. I understand why he did it. I think it's that whole chalkboard thing. And if you want to question, why he didn't make a change last offseason, I get that. And, we've all been fed the reasons. But this notion that Beamer, because he's not firing this guy right now, you have to sort of take a deep breath and think about why, and the reason is, and as somebody today said, great CEOs don't wait. Well, this isn't Wall Street. This isn't Wall Street. This is college football, and timing matters. And when you have games to play and you're on the cusp of, you just not want to go. You don't want to go to bowl this year. Is that it? You're so mad at Sat, you want to just, throw caution to the wind, confuse Spencer Rattler even more. Go out there, hang a goose egg on the board, get embarrassed. And look, that's not praising Marcus Satterfield at all. That's just being realistic and trying to explain why coaches do what they do. You got 4 games left, and one of them at the end is very important to the entire university and all that. This one Saturday is important. 3 SEC East games in Clemson. You can't just go say, all right, here, we're going to hand the play calling over to Justin Stepp when it's not his offense, not his philosophy, not anything. Look, and here's another thing about it. It's not like at this university, there's been a long track record of mid-season coordinator changes. There was one, okay, in 2005. Now, we want to talk about Steve Spurrier and the play caller merry-go-round that took place. But yeah, those guys were all on the same page, same offense, all that. That's a different story. Spurrier changed play callers on defense in the middle of 2005, right? But they had co-coordinators in Tyrone Nix and John Thompson. Nix runs the same defense Thompson does. Nix had called defense at Southern Miss the previous year. To me, that was a good move, and it showed you that Spurrier would do that. But let's not sit here and think that all these coaches have done this through the years. Brad Scott didn't make any midseason changes. Lou Holtz did not make any midseason changes. Spurrier, other than that one, did not make any midseason changes. Now, after the Clemson game, all bets are off, man.
Yeah, because then you got 3 weeks. You got 3 weeks to put in, a fundamentally different system. But you want to do that in between 2 games and then try to get it in 3 days, because that's essentially what you're working with between games.
Yeah, and I just think with the way this thing's set up, now we can argue whether or not it should be set up this way, for sure. But Shane is doing what's right for this team and for his program and for the entire organization. It's not, and he's not caving to the mob on this. Good CEO. And unfortunately, in our country today, there are some CEOs that cave to the Twitter mob. Those are not what I would call good CEOs. Those are people that aren't leaders. Those are people that probably should be fired. But I just don't understand the crazy criticism. I mean, there are people that are talking about not extending his contract, and I mean, that's just clueless, man. I mean, you want a guy on a 3-year deal coaching your football program in the SEC? Good luck recruiting. Yeah. All these recruits are going to go out the door. I mean, there's just no fierce urgency of now, right now at this moment to get it done. There's just not. Now, look, you go get blown. Let's say hypothetically the worst happens. They get blown out by Vanderbilt, right? Or beat pretty soundly. Offense looks like crap. Well, then really you can't hurt it anymore. Your chances of really winning the last 3 are very slim anyway. Mm-hmm. So, maybe you just tear the Band-Aid off then, but that would be giving up and waving the white flag. I think that, and look, South Carolina's got to get plays on defense and special teams and hope for the best offensively. But I think, it's not like there's massive amounts of injuries and players missing and you're just completely screwed. I mean, you get Lloyd back. I think it's been proven that the Gamecocks can, score and play decent. Now, I didn't say great, decent at times on offense when he's running the ball. You still have Juice Wells, still have all the players. I mean, it would be a different story too if everybody was hurt and they just, just didn't have the firepower to go out there and win. But, they're trying to win games. I can assure you, I'll just say this again, Shane Beamer's not an idiot. He's not an idiot, and he sees exactly what's going on. I don't care what he says to the media. I don't care, that he's not making a move now because most coaches do not. I know everybody gets fired. Head coaches get fired in the middle of the season. Somebody's like, well, what about Auburn? That was the head coach. And it can't, honest to God, get any worse there. When your head coach is struggling like that, yeah. I mean, they fired Will Muschamp in the middle of the year. Spurrier resigned in the middle of the year. When your head coach is best, and I'll remind everybody, Gamecocks were 1-8 and on the 8-game losing streak with an interim coach. When you do that, when your head coach is struggling and you're not winning, it's just bad. You got to, you're not, the crowd's not going to show up. It's going to be negativity. I mean, it gets really toxic. This isn't a head coach. This is one guy. This is a part of the organization that's a weak link, and he's got to fix it. And he will. But most of the time, unless it's an open date situation, right? And the time would have been at Kentucky. Now, you don't trade that win for Kentucky because you're mad at Sat.
Right.
You take those wins, okay? You don't sit there, oh, their quarterback was out, or A&M's just bad. Who cares?
Yeah. How mad at Satterfield are you that you would take 4-4 over 5-3?
Yeah. So I mean, look, the most important thing South Carolina can do right now is go win at Vanderbilt Saturday night. Nana Sports chat box. Krager chimes in a good 7 minutes before we kicked it off. Let's get it.
I hardly get the studio open when Craig's
in. Krager's right there. Tim says, let's get ready to rumble. Doc's in a very dry western North Carolina. We need rain badly. Dang Satterfield. Yeah, he's getting blamed for the rain. Clint says, I have a hard time getting excited about the Vandy game. Yeah, I had a hard time getting excited last week.
Yeah, same.
And I'll tell you, I'm less nervous about Vandy than I was a couple of weeks ago. I'd be sitting here like sweating if they'd beaten Missouri, because this is like, oh man, this is
the one. This is the trap.
Right, for a letdown. Doc says, I just hope the mood on the team is better than that. It is. I've heard some good things this week. Clint says, even Satterfield's pressers are predictable.
I'll listen to it because, that's what we do. But, I mean, don't expect to hear anything that's going to mean anything on Saturday.
Just going to be a lot of we got to go work harder.
Yeah.
All right. So Chris says, Tony Morrell stated in his Q&A that no one on the offensive staff wants to take over play calling. Do you have any comment on that? I think I just went through that, Chris, about there's really one guy that would make sense, and that's Freddie Kitchens. I told everybody when they hired Freddie, they were like, oh, well, he's the backup plan in case Sat goes south. And I didn't hammer that point home, but I was told that, like, I just don't think he's in the bullpen. I was like, okay. He's done it twice in the NFL already. You know, I don't know, you know, and then your other options are Nick Coleman, who's a GA, and Justin Stepp, who's never done it. So, and you would have them calling something they're not comfortable calling, you know, and that's the whole problem with this entire offense is comfort level. Nobody's comfortable doing any of it. Only person comfortable is Marshawn Lloyd, and he's doing it all on his own.
Yeah, and that's because all he's going to do is run the ball.
Yeah.
Bounce off people, break tackles, and run the ball.
tight ends aren't comfortable.
No.
Receivers aren't comfortable. The other backs aren't comfortable. Quarterback, there's no comfort. And so if you get an uncomfortable play caller, you know, like, look, if let's say we're part of like a teaching team, right? And you know, I'm teaching literature. I'm teaching drama, right? I'll use a drama reference since I was a theater major. All right, so I prefer like Southern Gothic, Tennessee Williams, stuff like that, you know. And I'm in there kind of helping teach Shakespeare, right? And then the other guy on staff, you know, he's more of a, you know, classics like Plato and Aristotle and, you know, the Greek tragedies and stuff, which is more similar to Shakespeare. But the last 2 years at different schools, when he hadn't had tenure, he's been shoved into a substitute situation. And you know, and that was teaching Greek classics. This is Shakespeare. It's a little different. So maybe he's unsure, not comfortable. The other two have never taught a class before in their lives. They're just teaching assistants. And they also like, you know, one likes musicals, and the other one likes, you know, Arthur Miller and, you know, American, you know, modern stuff, you know, the 20th century stuff. So there's really nobody else to do it. You're going to keep the Shakespeare expert in there, even though he doesn't even half the time talk in iambic pentameter, and he confuses the crowd of you with like all these little details, and you know his philosophies and you know theories on these things are out of whack, and he's just not, and he has no idea how to get his kids or the students to get it. Well, those students are already confused, you know, that they're all sitting there at about a C minus. They had an F last week on that exam, but they're still sitting at a C. Don't you if you're just kind of looking, you want you guys to pass, you sit with the crazy confusing guy until the end of the semester, and then you chop him. Hopefully that makes sense. Agnostic Moron says, watch the Mizzou game again. Refs were a huge problem. You know, there was no hold by DK on the kick return, and Mizzou held and interfered with receivers all day. Yeah, that the last 2 weeks have left a lot to be desired officiating wise.
Yeah, it's been poor, very poor.
Seth says, morning, guys. Hopefully we can turn it to a spiderweb team this weekend at Vandy. LOL. They kind of been South Carolina sort of is a spiderweb team, which is unfortunate given the players they have on offense, but that's the deal there. Agnostic says Lloyd is a beast, 100%, no doubt. It's a shame he doesn't get credit, particularly from his own OC, and carries each game. Yeah, I mean, he couldn't play the second half the other day against Missouri, so I guess that's why he didn't get carries. It was kind of confusing to people because he got hurt, then came back in, and I think he had about a 12-yard run right before the half. But
yeah. And I think he did have a couple of carries at the second half, but just seemed to be at random, you know, like short yardage distance or you know, something. Got to have it.
See, Andrew says that. Andrew brings up a good point here, and this is something that's kind of been talked about. That very chance one of the 5-0 line was the one tipping plays. Stance and weight distribution will do it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't know enough, Andrew, to see it. There's been some rumors, so
it seems like, though, from what I could see, it was when Spencer would make calls at the line.
Yeah,
and then they're throwing their hands up, and you know, kind of, I don't know. Either way, they knew. You could tell they knew, and that's just part of it. Is like if you don't disguise that enough, they're going to catch on.
Yeah,
and when you know the culmination of your genius mind is like inside run, perimeter screen. you know, he got about a 50% chance of figuring out what's going on.
Yeah, probably not. Saunders says, go ask Browns fans how they feel about Kitch's play calling. As an interim, I wouldn't have a problem with that. And look, you ask Browns fans how they felt about him the first year with Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
They turned that thing around. So, I mean, and plus it's the NFL. Who cares? And like I said, Freddie Kitchens to me, probably not the guy to be the permanent full-time OC. But as far as feel for the game and things like that, he's got experience doing it, but doesn't want to do it. So it's a moot point. Ed says, so if Beamer makes a move on the OC after the season, who will be a realistic hire to lead the offense? Gosh, I've started looking at names. There's a guy at JMU, no relation, right? We figured this out. Named Mike Shanahan. His name's Mike Shanahan. No relation.
No relation. We did confirm.
No relation to Kyle or Mike.
To the NFL Shanahan dynasty.
I actually remember covering him as a recruit. He's a tight end recruit. Played at Pitt like an 08, 09-ish. Big guy, big tight end guy. Well, he took over JMU's offense. They're looking good. And then the guy that was at JMU before him was former NC State quarterback Shane Montgomery, who I think was the head coach at Miami of Ohio for a while. And there's other guys out there. I'll say this, Gamecock fans, if a change is made, obviously you're going to have some people that are going to be skeptical. Be smarter than some folks, because there are going to be some folks that like demand a big name. You got to go take Tennessee's offensive coordinator or whatever.
Yeah, Longo.
Don't get caught up in names so much as production, because that's where I think we're at now, Phil. You've had the guy that works for the guy in Kurt Roper. You had all these reasons why Florida was improved, and they were improved when he took over. He takes back over at South Carolina, gone in 2 years. You had Brian McClendon. That was going to be kind of a team effort. Brian McClendon probably coaches circles around Marcus Satterfield running offense, I think. Maybe not. Now, receiver coaching, that's a different story, but, I'd take that offense. They were running an 18, even 19 now, because that would give them enough. But, McClendon was kind of a first-time guy. They got him in there. Well, then he settles on Bobo, and that's great. And a hire like Mike Bobo would be fine. A guy like Dan Mullen. Now, I think Dan Mullen's getting the head coaching job, but if Shane Beamer hired Dan Mullen, or dare I say Scott Frost or someone like that to come in, former head coach to take over the offense, more power to you. That's fine. So he finally landed on Bobo, and then they all got fired. And Bobo was the best one they've had. And then Beamer comes in, is going to keep Bobo. And then, here's this new guy. He's been in the NFL for 1 year as an assistant to an assistant, copy of a copy. And then you hear all kinds of things. Like we have heard Rams, 49ers. We've heard, I know at one of the clinics he was putting on, he had Dallas Cowboys offense up there, Panthers offense. Joe Brady meets Lincoln Riley. None of that's out there.
Yeah.
None of that.
Not what we are seeing.
It's not seeing any of that. And look, guys, it's not just because it's not working. We're just not even seeing those types of attempts. We're not seeing that kind of thing. So Agnostic says post plays on the scoreboard and let the crowd vote. Can't get any worse. Lexi makes a good point here. It's a hard position to fill when the offense, they've been practicing all year, and you can't just throw someone in there and expect things to change in T-minus 6 days. Yeah, the time to have done it, if they were going to do it, would have been during the open date. I have a sneaky suspicion had Carolina gone up and laid an egg at Kentucky and got beat and not scored, that there could have been some off-week changes. Kevin says, I think if Carolina struggles again next week and ekes out a win, he may have to make a move, especially being bowl eligible. Probably not favored the rest of the way. Yeah, I just don't think he is. Now, who will call plays in the bowl game?
You got enough time to implement some changes in practice for a new play caller. So
Yeah. Krager, how would we know what Steph's philosophy would even be? Because I know. It's one of those things I'm paid to know.
My gut just tells me it'd be a bit more spread, and
I mean, think about who he worked for: Chad Morris, Kendall Browse. I think he worked for Chad Morris at Clemson too. So yeah. J Rock says, "Sup, everybody? Let's bounce back and beat Vandy."
Yep, that's the key. Win.
Agnostic says, "Genuine question: what are the pros and cons of dropping Sat now? Cons: the players give up, and we maybe lose a transfer recruiter too, and maybe lose the remaining 4 games." No, see that's the disconnect here. Is that there's some sort of like quit, and until this guy's gone, everybody's going to quit, and all this good stuff. That's not happening.
Mm-mm.
They
didn't buy into Satterfield's concept of the program. They bought into Beamer's. So everybody's looking at Shane, and
Beamer's trying to avoid a dumpster fire and making things in the games worse than they are.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you look at it, yes, there was a big turd on the field Saturday, right? But they've gotten enough in other games. To do that. So Kentucky being one of them, A&M being the other. I think the hope is, but the hope is get it back to that level, which honest to God still isn't good enough. The Kentucky and Texas A&M offensive performances, even though those are great wins and everybody loves them, those aren't good enough. There are issues in those games too. But if you can get the production and the scoring back to that, and you can with Lloyd in there running the ball, I mean, then you have a chance to win. And I think that's what the focus is. You scrap this thing and you bring in another play caller right now, there's all kinds of crap that could happen. That's worse than what's happening now. Worse than calling a timeout or having to delay a game after a timeout.
But you got a lot of guys on the field that, have the ability to not be here next year, whether they're going to the league or obviously with transfer rules. So if you just toss out what you've got going on right now and just say, well, screw it, we're going to lose our next 4 games, but we're going to work on next year. I mean, you can't do that because that's a dumpster fire. That's going to be ugly. Yeah. So just be patient, have a little patience.
And Agnostic goes on to say pros have changed additional time to get a replacement for. That's not going to matter either, because you're not going to. Yeah, there's no really. I don't disagree with Beamer for not making it now. Now, going back, maybe and it's hard to make a change like that after a big win too. I think he is in a rock and a hard place. I think where the criticism has to be pointed is, look. The bowl game was fool's gold. The quarterback excuses were fool's gold. You went and got this guy players. You set him up for success with the recruiting you did, and same old. And from game 1 till now, I mean, the Georgia State games looked a lot like last year's offense, and all that good stuff. All right, so Tim's got a good name for OC. We're going to talk about. Cartwright mentioned Mike Shanahan. Doc says Beamer's in a tough spot, whether it's his fault or not. And we've got to get a break in.
Yes,
wow, that went by super duper fast. All right, Inside the Gamecocks, the show rolls on after these messages.
Just as your State Farm agent combines good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates, you can combine your home, auto, life, or small business insurance with Tony Pope State Farm Insurance today. And guess what you'll get? That's right, even more good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates. In fact, Tony Pope State Farm is your go-to agent anywhere in South Carolina, North Carolina, or Georgia for the service you deserve at the price you want. So try combining your home, life, auto, and or small business insurance today. Tony Pope State Farm has been in business for more than 30 years and can handle anything you need in the tri-state area. Once again, Tony Pope State Farm will help you mix and match perfectly. Call 843-851-2222 or visit TonyPope.com today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
If you're a listener, I feel strongly that if you're in the upstate and are in need of real estate services, Cindy Searfoss is your go-to person. Searfoss of Caldwell Banker Kane can help you with any of your realty needs right there in the upstate of South Carolina, Greenville, Spartanburg, Anderson, Oconee, Pickens, wherever you are. Cindy can help you with that. She's married to a diehard Gamecock fan, has been in the upstate for more than 35 years. Right there in my hometown of Spartanburg, Daniel Morgan Avenue. Contact Cindy, 864-414-5271, or email csearfoss, CSEARFOSS, at cbcaine.com, CBCAINE. That's Cindy Searfoss, a proud sponsor of the Inside the Gamecocks podcast. Check her out. We've already gotten several emails from listeners that are very impressed with her professionalism and her ability to help you with your real estate needs. 864-414-5271, Cindy Searfoss of Caldwell Banker Kane.
If you're looking to sell or buy multifamily property right here in South Carolina, the Burgesson team of RE/MAX at the Lake can help you get to closing fast and easy. Adam and Derek Burgesson both are very proud Gamecocks and are more than happy to assist you with any of your commercial real estate needs all across the state. You can email Adam at aburgesson@remax.net. That's ABERGESON at remax.net to get your next deal underway. The Burgesson team, proud sponsors of Inside the Gamecocks.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
Attention golfers of all ages and skill sets. Former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor will be a full-time golf instructor in the Midlands of South Carolina very, very soon. You want to take advantage of this opportunity. If you're like me and you got to get a whole lot better at golf, or even if you're looking to refine your swing, Meredith is the person you need to go to. She's competing in her final USGA Mid-Amateur Tournament this summer before going full-time into teaching and coaching individuals. If you're in South Carolina, Meredith will be conducting in-person golf lessons at the Country Club of Lexington, half-hour, hour, on course. She'll play 9 or 18 with you. If you're out of state, though, this is really exciting. She'll be conducting virtual lessons. You can send in your swing for her expert analysis. Also, in November, she'll launch an online course with video instruction for all ages and skill levels. Meredith has 20-plus years of knowledge, former SEC golfer, all of that. So contact her on Twitter at MERTaylor, at MERTAYLOR, or go to McKellarEnterprises.org. McKellar is spelled MCKELLAR, Enterprises.org. Her email's on the website, so you can connect with her for any other questions. Go get your golf game in order. Take advantage of Meredith Taylor and her services.
Yep, time to get back to the show. Shoot. All right, my man.
Welcome inside the Gamecocks, the show, everybody. First hours of the show is brought to you by Cindy Searfoss at Coldwell Banker Kane Realty. Give Cindy a call for all of your upstate residential real estate needs. 864-414-5271. Almost forgot Cindy's number there. Yeah. I've committed it to memory, which means it will live in there as a phone number in my head for, probably forever. Because I just, that's the way my brain works. Once I have a phone number in there, it just stays in there forever.
That's awesome.
For JC. Yeah, it's a blessing. Trust me. Where was the one with the good OC suggestion that we were talking about?
Tim Dorn.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, Dorn from Major League Dorn.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a name that'll take the job of making an OC, Major Applewhite. I think Shane knows Major Applewhite a little bit. He's called plays at Bama, Texas, currently the OC at South Alabama. I'll say this about Major Applewhite. He's got a decent track record. He's been up and down sort of during his career, did work for Tom Herman at Houston, and as you mentioned, Texas and all that. I'll say this, Jake Bentley played for him at South Alabama, and they collectively, the Bentleys, had a lot of great things to say about him, and their offense looked pretty good. I think he would be a good choice. He's a daggum college coach. Cocky Gaming, why is it that when Adkins isn't feeling well, our offensive line looks decent to good, but when he's back, we suddenly regress and look dazed and confused? Well, I don't know that. I think Adkins was on the sidelines, but Lonnie Teasley had the headset, so he's still coaching. I don't think that's fair, to be honest, to kind of blame him and just his presence for what Missouri was doing up front. Missouri was going to do what Missouri did, but they did the same thing last year. Okay, the same exact same thing. You can't leave your offensive line hanging out to dry like that. That's a coordinator issue.
Yeah, that's it, because you can scheme up plays to counter that, and we didn't. That's the whole. I think that's one of the reasons why we're all pissed. I think the Adkins thing is obviously just a coincidence, but your coordinator, it gets you out of that. The play calling gets you out of that.
Jason says, if we don't get a big play from special teams or defense, I think we're in danger of losing to Vandy. We don't have the offense to beat them straight up. I disagree. I think that's helpful, getting a big play, but they had enough they would have still beaten Kentucky had they not gotten that fumble at the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
They didn't. Reminder, even when they get big plays on special teams and defense, they don't always score.
Yeah, you don't always get points off turnovers. Yeah.
But I see what you're saying, Jason. I just don't think it's that dramatic. I think that's very helpful, though. And that is going to be a formula for winning. If they want to win, and if you want to go to the Swamp and beat Florida, you need – it's helpful. You're not going to get a play on special teams every week, right? Mm-hmm. But it's helpful to get turnovers on defense. You're going to have to turn them over. Good news is Anthony Richardson turns it over.
Yep. And you can't turn the ball over. That's the other thing. You play smart football when you have the football. You don't give them extra opportunities. But but hey, Jason, if your defense goes out there and lets them, just run yards all over you and put points on the board, no, we cannot win a shootout. We are not set up for that.
Nope, not set up for it at all. J-Rock. I wanted to address this too during the break. I was thinking about this. A good question, J-Rock. I love Beamer, but his 3-minute answer to Ben yesterday frustrated me. All of our wide receivers and tight ends have talent to a degree, but some have more than others. Our most talented guys need to stay on the field. I agree with that, but that's also the scheme. I mean, that's kind of, I guess the plan is to do these different personnel groupings. And I'll say this, in college football, if you are blessed, and it is a blessing with having versatile players, like your tight ends, for example, like Jaheim Bell can line up how many different spots, right? Stogner can split out wide, right? Juju McDowell can split out wide at running back. Lloyd split out wide before in games. You have an advantage there that they're just not taking care of, because what you want to do is you want to go fast and not allow them to substitute, and then have the flexibility to run different formations with the same personnel. That's something that's being completely missed on this subject. I didn't think, poor Beamer was like, I don't mean to be condescending about this. I don't think he came across as condescending. I think he was just trying to explain what the thought process that goes into it. Believe me, I think he's just as frustrated as everybody else. But yeah, I mean, so you could go so Beamer talks. So the 2 and the 2, like when you say 22 personnel, that's 2 backs, 2 tight ends. 10 personnel is 1 back, no tight ends, 4 wide. So you could go literally from 10 to 22 and not have to substitute with the players Carolina's got.
Yeah, because you got the versatility. But
versatility, because you can line them up anywhere.
Packages are set up.
And it's not set up that way. It's like we're watching paint dry, and then there's no sense of urgency. I honestly think he just has to. Mark Saban struggles so much in game. In game is just, and Beamer even mentioned it. Why are we practicing so well and not doing well in the game? I was reading some of Steve Spurrier's book last night, and I don't know. I think it's way too late to make any adjustments, but he said he used to practice play calling during practices. He's like, shoot, I always called plays during practices, because if I didn't, I'd be rusty for the game. And he said he'd do it without a play sheet to teach himself to kind of be in the moment and dissect it, And I've been at practices where he was coaching before, and Mangus would have the play sheet. Junior would have the play sheet, of course. Gillespie, sometime, or whoever, Graham, the running backs coach, they take turns sometimes. He wouldn't call them all, but then he'd get in there without a play sheet and just start whispering stuff in, and the offense would just go up and down the field. Now, Steve Spurrier's not coming back, guys. I mean, you got to find something else, but it's just one of those things. So I don't know how they're practicing with the coordinator to get him in game mode. I don't know, man. The guy's never had an offense higher than 70th in the country. So, who knows? Adam says, look at all the firings from Auburn. Do they have a staff to coach the team for the rest of the season? A lot of graduate assistants. I was glad to see Cadillac Williams got that gig, Makes me feel old. Devin talks about Brian Ellis, OC, Georgia Southern, had historic numbers as the OC at Western Kentucky. Hey, Cavalier says, to me, the groupings, play calls, and the offense seems too complex. I've heard from players from previous coaching staffs is that you have a handful of plays, they use different formations. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there weren't that many, McClendon did that pretty well. Roper's problems were not the complexity. He would just not know what to call in the game, kind of lose his mind. You got to be kind of calm, cool, and collected when you're on. I don't see there's no good offensive coordinators out there that run around, scream, wave their hands, all that. Spurrier would get mad and throw his visor, but you watch him when he's calling plays, he's dialed in and calm, and it's like a golf coach. You got to kind of have that ice water in your veins. Defense, completely different.
Yeah.
Offensively, sometimes your receivers coach and your running backs coach or your O-line coach, those are the hype men. The coordinator's got to stay calm. But yeah, that's what it is. And see, you could do that with the players Carolina's got because they're versatile. You could run 5, 6, 3, 4 different formations with the same bunch of guys.
Mm-hmm.
But that's an advantage. That's a luxury item in college football. Sider says we constantly talk about how complex the system is, but people want someone who didn't create the system to come in and run it better than the guy who put it together. Doesn't pass the smell test. I agree.
Yeah, I think that's the key thing driving not making the change right now is that you're used to driving a boat and the guy that you've got is set up a spaceship. And you're like, well, damn, I don't go to space, man. This is here on the party barge.
This isn't Will Smith from Independence Day.
Yeah, right.
That's actually fiction, folks. Will Smith would have, in real life, Will Smith would have crashed the saucer. John, Pacific Northwest, this morning, gents. Quick question. I don't like to rip players who are given 100%. But Devontae Reed has not had the impact I envisioned so far. Interested in your take? Well, I think there's two things going on there. I think number one, and I love Devontae Reed. I think he's a really good player. I think he's better than a lot of the safeties they've had recently. Number one, I don't think he's been healthy. He keeps getting banged up. He's not very big. Number two, he's probably not quite as good in coverage as we thought. And then number three, Evan Warray and DQ Smith, I think have just outplayed him. Sounds crazy to say, a couple 3-star local safety kids, but DQ, and then when Spalding's in there too, he's been better. I don't know why Spalding didn't go in to the game the other day. BJ Gibson did at safety. That was weird. Rattler grabs his towel on throw plays. What about the comment yesterday? Every time they threw their hands up, they knew we were throwing. I don't know about tipping plays. Andrew brought up a good point there. One of coach has a resume showing success, not sustained in the flash. Agreed. Mm-hmm. Sugar Ray said, could it be time to move Satterfield to the booth? Thoughts? If I wanted to be sneaky about it, I'm saying don't say a word. But we're going to clear this with compliance. Freddie's going to call the plays. Sat's going to take the headset off, and y'all are going to the booth.
Yeah.
You just hide it from the world.
And we don't know what it's going to look like because, this is a very visibly frustrated Shane Beamer has come out of 2 wins and a bad loss. Mm-hmm. So something might be happening that we're just not privy to.
Clint says maybe you could do associate head coach of offense or something for Kendall Briles. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that Kendall's leaving Arkansas for anything but a head coaching job. Justin said, whoever we play already know the first 5 plays are scripted. Sat even said it like I said on Beamer, said a change won't be – like I said on Beamer, a change won't be made until the end of the year. Yeah, nobody really does that, though. You guys are asking Shane Beamer to do something that's not normal, right? Yes, head coaches get fired middle of the year all the time in college football now. Coordinators, not so much. Now, I know Auburn's did, but he was out the door with Harsin as soon as he got fired. He's a Harsin guy. And their season's over, folks. Auburn's season, I mean, you look at the stands at Jordan-Hare, you listen to their fans. It's all about, by the way, they've got $13 million in an NIL collective, $13 million in a collective like mine for the next coach. So be prepared to lose some guys to Auburn in recruiting really soon. The scripted play thing, everybody keeps asking about the script. I don't think that's important because coaches sometimes tend to deviate from it. But let me give you 2 examples here, okay? That are concerning when it comes to the old script, right? So the 3 throw plays, it was either A&M or Kentucky after the turnover, when they got inside and then they threw it 3 times. Satterfield goes, we were going to call that as soon as we got into the 5 regardless. Yeah. Well, that's dumb. Did you not?
We knew we were going to go to Stogner on the 3rd down. He just didn't get it. Well,
did you not want to look at the defense first?
Yeah, right.
That's the same thing as when they said, oh, we're going to run that Jordan Birch play regardless as soon as we get inside the – well, did you not really think and have some idea last year about how that Tennessee game was going and that you desperately need a touchdown to stop their momentum? And Kevin Harris is getting it going for the first time all year. You're finally running the football, and you get all the way down to the 2. The crowd's kind of quiet, and then you do some dumb crap like that and get them back in. And that's one of those things. Even had it worked, you sit there and go, why? Jared says Brian Johnson, formerly of Florida, would be a good candidate. Checks the Gamecock requirement of coaching in the NFL too. Oh, he'd be great. I don't think you have a chance in Hades to get him to come back and be the OC here. I think he's going to be a head coach soon, one way or the other. Graham Harrell, Adams says. I like him from West Virginia. I like him. Saunders says, I'm still stunting for Kevin Johns, just a feeling. And he likes Art Browse as a candidate. I just don't think you could. Are you talking about Kendall Browse? Art or Kendall? Kendall.
I think he means Kindle.
Yeah, art would be something like that, Random stat: Jalen Hyatt has 14 touchdowns. Rattler's thrown 5. What if someone told you that before the season? Yeah, I'd say a lot of Gamecock fans will be upset, and I'll say this too. Looking around the SEC and the new hires that came in 2019, 2020, or there are a bunch of them. Not sure about 2021 just yet, but and that would be Beamer, Clark Lee, Ole Miss, Mississippi State. Ole Miss is significantly better than they were under Matt Luke. Now, Matt Luke didn't do a bad job. He recruited well. I thought he had some good coordinators and things like that, but they were kind of 5, 6, 7 wins. Lane's taken them to the top 10. Mike Leach has beaten how many top 25 teams at Mississippi State the last 3 years? Arkansas, and it's unfortunate Jefferson got hurt and they kind of had a rough go of it there in the middle, but they're back. Arkansas, Tennessee with Josh Heupel in 2020. Look at all those teams and how they've elevated their program. Now, South Carolina's back. They're elevated. They're better than they were. Obviously, they're not going 4-8 and 2-8, or that would have probably been 5-7 if you want to be realistic about it, because of the All SEC schedule. But they're not doing any of that. They're back, they're elevated, but those other teams elevated with their offense. Those other teams, like, all right, we're going to go score points and put points on the board. And look how that's changed the narrative. I mean, Arkansas was horrific before Pittman got there. Horrific. Tennessee, Vol fans were like, we'll never win again until Heupel got there. Ole Miss was kind of floundering after Hugh Freeze and probation and all that, and look at what they've done. Even Vanderbilt, the moments they've had under Clark Lee, they put a lot of points on the board. This Vandy team put 63 up against Hawaii.
Yeah.
They've been able to score. So that's a big frustrating point too, is that you kind of look at everything and it's kind of the same old style wise. Quantrill says more and more I listen to these press conferences, the more I want the next AC to be some form of air raid with running elements. Oh, that's perfect for me. Sign me up, Quantrill.
Mm-hmm.
An offense that will get people excited and get the best athletes in space. RB says, can Beamer not tell Sat to get Bell on the field, or does he agree with the game plan and is okay with it? Either way is an awful look, and it isn't just one game. Yeah, I would do that. I'd mandate it.
Yeah, you just got to go in there, and because that's what he can do is like he can, start to micromanage some of that and be like, okay, here's your personnel grouping. So whatever damn play you've got that has this group, that has these positions in there, call from that personnel. But these are the ones that are going to be on the field.
Yeah, I don't know. So Adam says, yeah, exactly. Do this within these parameters.
Yeah, here's your parameters. You call whatever damn plays you've got in your creative ass scheme here, but here's who's going to be on the field when you call it.
Nick Saban would do that. Nick Saban would, Adam says, heard a story that Spurrier once had 5 plays per game and used them the entire game, slicing and dicing the defense because he had so many different route concepts within those 5. Yeah, that's that option route I was talking about.
Exactly how his offenses worked. Michael Flint has confirmed that with us.
Same plays.
That's the same thing.
And here's what's happening now at South Carolina. I think they try to kind of reinvent the wheel too much every week instead of working on what you need to work on. You get it down to get down. RB says, JC and Phil, would it be that hard for someone else to simply call plays, not necessarily take over OC duties, but call plays off the sheet? Not sure why that's so complex. Well, because, if you're not comfortable, these are human beings, not robots. And if you're not comfortable doing something, and it's not really yours and you don't really know, then how are you going to have a feel for what to call and when?
Yeah.
And it's not like Sat's constantly running on throwing downs and throwing on pass on, he's calling, but it's just not good. And it's just, the whole, my whole thing is too, this new RPO thing they're trying to do with Rattler. That's not working. Throw that out of the dang playbook.
No, yeah,
that's not working. He's even if he makes the right read, okay, because I noticed this the other day because Shane said this is an RPO thing. For those that don't know, RPOs are run pass options. Quarterback reads the box. They say, oh, it's a throw or it's a run. I looked at a couple of those things the other day for the Missouri game. Not only there was no hole for the back to go through, they were crowding the box, but there are 3 guys and there are 3 defenders and 2 guys over there on the side. So that's not Spencer Rattler's fault. He's taught to go one of 2 places. That's the offensive coordinator's fault for calling it. Just like it wasn't Helinski's fault. He was given an RPO option to throw the ball to the Missouri defender in 2019 because that was BMAC's offense, all RPOs. Just like it wasn't Jake's fault that Todd Grantham started crashing a safety against Florida back in 2018 when they blew that lead. He was making the right read. But, somebody somewhere's just been like, scrap this, call it and haul it. Call it. Just call it. All right. We're out of time again. This has been it's been a sprint.
We have been rolling right along.
Here, all right. So Jamie Bradford's coming up in the second hour. Top of the hour break here on Inside the Gamecocks show. We'll be back after these messages. If you're a listener, I feel strongly that if you're in the upstate and are in need of real estate services, Cindy Searfoss is your go-to person. Searfoss of Caldwell Banker Kane can help you with any of your realty needs right there in the upstate of South Carolina, Greenville, Spartanburg, Anderson, Oconee, Pickens, wherever you are. Cindy can help you with that. She's married to a diehard Gamecock fan, has been in the upstate for more than 35 years. Right there in my hometown of Spartanburg, Daniel Morgan Avenue. Contact Cindy, 864-414-5271, or email csearfoss, CSEARFOSS, at cbcaine.com, CBCAINE. That's Cindy Searfoss, a proud sponsor of the Inside the Gamecocks podcast. Check her out. We've already gotten several emails from listeners that are very impressed with her professionalism and her ability to help you with your real estate needs. 864-414-5271, Cindy Searfoss of Caldwell Banker Kane.
If you're looking to sell or buy multifamily property right here in South Carolina, the Burgesson team of RE/MAX at the Lake can help you get to closing fast and easy. Adam and Derek Burgesson both are very proud Gamecocks and are more than happy to assist you with any of your commercial real estate needs all across the state. You can email Adam at aburgesson@remax.net. That's ABERGESON at remax.net to get your next deal underway. The Burgesson team, proud sponsors of Inside the Gamecocks.
Hey man, are you sick and tired of your business computer guy?
Yes, he takes forever to call me back and doesn't always respond to the requests.
Yeah, same here. I'm paying him good money. I constantly have issues, and I'm worried he's not backing up my network and securing it properly.
Oh, I feel that, man. My head hurts, but I have a good lead on a good idea. I'm calling your boy Matthew Odom today from Heritage Digital. Heritage Digital is an IT firm that specializes in making sure your IT network runs like a dream. If you have 1 or 500 employees, it doesn't matter. They do it all for one monthly fee and have clients from South Carolina all the way to California.
Yeah, I heard that monthly fee's low too, so I don't know why I didn't even think of that. Do you have 843-699-1001 as Matt's contact number?
Yeah, man, I sure do that. Or you can go to heritagedigital.com.
Man, I hear they do a no-cost assessment. Boy, this will help me.
Yeah, I bet.
I'm getting on that and encouraging everyone else to do the same. Heritage Digital, 843-699-1001 or heritagedigital.com, a proud sponsor of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
Hey folks, JC here. I've told you about Nana's Porch over and over again. They sponsor our chat box on the show. Don't take my word for it, though. I wanted you to hear from Gamecock pitcher Noah Hall about our sponsor, Nana's Porch. Nana'sPorch.com. Go there. Food truck, catering, whatever you need. Take it away, Noah.
What's up, Gamecock fans? This is pitcher Noah Hall. If you want some delicious food for your event, I suggest visiting Nana'sPorch.com today to find out what they all have to offer. It's really good Southern cuisine based out of Charlotte, my hometown. I hope you guys go check it out. Go Cox and go Nanas.
This is Braylon Wimmer, South Carolina Gamecock Baseball, and you are listening to Inside the Gamecocks, the show with JC and Phil. Go Cox.
And tip our hats and raise our glasses of cold beer.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Inside the Gamecocks, the show. The second hour is brought to you by the Burgesson team at RE/MAX at the Lake. Give Adam or Derek a call or shoot them an email at aburgesson, that's ABERGESON, at remax.net. We're joined on the McKellar Enterprises guest line by Jamie Bradford. Jamie, how you doing this afternoon?
I apologize to y'all. You can hear me, right? Everything's good?
Yeah,
you're good. You're good. I'll turn you up a little bit.
Sorry, had to be in the truck again today. Hopefully this is the last time I'll actually be on the move while I'm doing this.
It's all good, brother. All good. I did want to address one thing from the chat box. Justin says, I don't think Freddie wants to be the OC, but I do think he called the second half of the UK game. I had some suspicions about that because I was there looking in the huddle, and so did some friends of mine. But I checked with some contacts that would tell me if that were the case. And it wasn't. It was set. So that's just FYI on that one there. All right. Jamie, your thoughts on a bad weekend this past weekend against Missouri, and what the deal you think is? How does this thing kind of get right by the time they kick off in Nashville on Saturday night?
Healthy Marshawn Lloyd. I mean, that's it. I mean, honestly, I mean, that was awful. I mean, there was nothing there that wasn't awful. It was all awful. And if they don't have a healthy Marshawn Lloyd, they honestly, I don't think they'll win Saturday. I mean, it's really that bad on offense. So, they're going to have him healthy. And, you just pray and count your chickens and do whatever you want to do this week to make sure that South Carolina does not go become Vanderbilt's first win of the season in the SEC. And I think first in how many years? I don't know. I don't think they've won a game in a few years in the league. You will be the embarrassment of the country if that happens. And you certainly don't want to be that. All the gains that they've made in the last couple of years under Shane. And it's like, how quickly can it come crashing down? And you pair that with the offense, and you've got players who've kind of said things that people were trying to interpret and figure out, well, what does he mean by this? And what does he mean by that? And I mean, there's just a lot going on that's very negative on the outside world right now for Carolina football, even though they sit at 5-3, which is not a bad record. And most people prior to the season would have taken 5-3 through the first 8 games. But you pair that with the way that they've gotten there, losing to Missouri, the offense has pretty much been terrible all year with the exception of a couple of halves. And and people are going, we're 5-3 and we certainly would have taken it. But my goodness, had we known before the season that we were better than 5-3, we wouldn't have. And I do think that I think they have a group of players, guys, that is better than the record that they have right now. I mean, I like the players on this team. I've said that all year. I like these kids. And so, hopefully this weekend they can get enough points on the board to get out of there and continue to grind it out. I've been saying that for about a month. Just keep grinding and let's see what you can come up with. And that's right where they are.
Yeah, I think Lloyd was the key. And Lloyd even said it. And we talked about that in the first hour that had he been in the game, because it seemed like he was one of those guys out there Saturday when he was playing. He's like, okay, you're going to bring all these people at me. I'm just going to run around you. He's that good. Yeah. That good of a player.
Yep.
But you have to be able to adjust. What that tells you too is that, and what I want to do if I'm Vanderbilt, I'm going to do everything I can defensively, scheme wise, to take Marshawn out of the game and live with the results. Now, the question is, are they good enough to do that? Are they good enough to take him out? I don't know that they are on defense up there, but that's exactly what I do if I were Florida. That's exactly what Tennessee is going to do, because they'll run blitz the crap out of you. They're not going to let you sit there and run the ball. And then Clemson, as we all know, they're going to be pretty good against the run as well. So you have to have a counterbalance for that. That's what was so just disappointing on Saturday. It was like when Marshawn went out, it's like there was just no clue. The backup running backs did nothing. Jaheim Bell gets 9 touches in the game. Nine snaps. 9 snaps total. You got all these personnel packages coming in and out. It's confusing. It's slow. It's really limiting and gives you no chance. And then, Spencer Rattler, for every one good thing he does 3 other things that are like, oh man, you wish you'd had that back. I'm not blaming it on him. He's obviously confused. He's got a wristband on that looks like an iPad. I mean, that's that. That kid's he's trying. But he's sort of a, look, and I'll see what you think about this. The whole narrative about we're going to prepare him for the NFL. Number one, that scares me. Whenever somebody starts focusing on that, because we lived through that on defense when Muschamp was there. Think about how many good individual players on defense under Muschamp are not only in the league, but they're thriving. Rashad Fenton just got traded to the Falcons. He started a Super Bowl or 2. Chris Lamons is stuck around up there. They love J.C. Horn over the Panthers. I mean, Mkwamu's playing. I mean, Ernest Jones was in the Super Bowl last year. I mean, And then think about like the results of that team defense in the last year, especially. Very confused. So I just don't think it's the responsibility of college programs to teach guys the mental side of playing in the NFL at quarterback. And that's what it looks like out there, JB. I've said it. Keith said it. Spencer Rattler looks like a rookie quarterback in the NFL, a guy with tools, a guy that can be great in a pro system in a few years, but that's taken his growing pains. And I just think that's completely unnecessary at the college level.
Well, I mean, we see what he does well. You know, he's really good outside the pocket and on the move. You get his legs moving. He can make all the throws and all those things. But we know what he does well, but then we don't run an offense around it. You know, it doesn't make a lot of sense, you know? So I don't know. I try to, I mean, guys, y'all know me a long time. I try to make sure every week that I'm fair to the conversation. I'm a nobody. So, you know, Marcus Satterfield has forgotten more football than I'll ever know. I'm not going to sit here and say, well, this is what they need to do. I really don't know. I mean, I hear things that other people say this is what they need to do, and it seems to kind of fit. But I don't know exactly what that is. What I see with my own eyes every week are the things that he does well and the things that he doesn't do well. And the things that he doesn't do well are the things we seemingly continuously try to push down his throat in the throat of this offense. And I just don't really understand why. So, you know, there's a lot of quarterbacks in college football that play in systems that are pretty simple, and they head on to the NFL and they end up being just fine. So I'm not exactly sure where we were going to reinvent the wheel here, but hopefully they can back off of that thinking at some point in time, because that's an uberly talented quarterback room, guys. And I would really hate to get to the end of the season. More than likely, they're going to lose a guy or two. It's just going to happen. I mean, it's crowded. There's a lot of kids in there who want to play. And if Rattler comes back, which he should, you know, you're going to probably have a guy or two that says, well, we're going to look for greener pastures, because we came here kind of thinking that Rattler probably, or even when Rattler was here and I was already here, okay, well, he's going to be here for a year and he'll be gone. So, but you want to stop from losing 3 or 4 guys, right? I mean, because then you lose your whole damn room. So I don't know what's going to happen. One game at a time. Obviously, you know, they're trying to go to Nashville and win and get to a bowl and grind through this year and make it the best that they can, and kind of redo 2021 almost. Like, wow, I can't believe we won 7 games. You know, so if they can get to the end of the season and look up and go, wow, we figured it out. We got to 8. Everybody will at least be calm, but everybody also knows what.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think everybody's seen enough, you know, to know that it's been 21 games of inconsistent. No, actually, look, I'm going to say consistent. I'm going to say consistent, because here's the deal. And there's not a lot of it's kind of like a no-duh kind of thing. When Carolina can run the ball, they're usually okay on offense. Most of the time they win. When they can't, it's a dumpster fire. Now, and here's the problem with that is that there's no, like, okay, so yeah, a lot of teams put a premium on running the ball. But what they do is we are starting running backs out. So, you know, we need to do some different types of things to be able to force the run here and not just run up the middle with a 175-pound guy. You know, we need to be able to, you know, do this, or we need to be able to throw if they're taking away the run, because if it were that simple, and Missouri's proven that maybe it is that simple against this guy the last 2 years. If it were that simple, every team in the country would do things like crash their ends, send the house every play, leave the middle of the field wide open. I mean, if it were that simple, that's what would happen in college football, and it doesn't. You look around the country, it doesn't. And that's been a big problem, I think, is that there's no. It's like, okay, well, we're going to run it, and if we can't run it, that's God, we're just screwed. And there's too many good players on the team in the passing game to do this. I mean, you know, for the life of me, I don't know. And this is another thing about it. Why you have Juice Wells, right? Okay, so against Arkansas, things look completely different than they do now, right? Which I don't know why they didn't go back to that. You know, where the empty set they were tinkering around with at the beginning of the year. Okay, well, it stands to reason that the box that they're going to crowd the box. If you spread them out, that takes people what, guys?
Out of the box.
Yeah.
Out of the box. Yeah. What's in the box? But but you know,
well, and if it doesn't, it leaves somebody open.
Yeah. Then you got somebody wide open.
Somebody's wide open. So okay, so nobody's really injured or anything. I mean, you know, you know, in that game, you go downfield to Juice Wells. How many times he had how many yards? You know, but you're still sitting there throwing it to him behind the line of scrimmage. You know, and in a team like Missouri that's crowding it like that, you got to kind of, you know, go downfield in a manner where, you know, you're not killing yourself to go downfield, you know, with a lot of slow developing pass plays and stuff. That just dawned on me. What the hell happened to the empty set? I mean, they were using that, 70% of the time the first two games. And then it just went to the way of the dodo. You know, that would have been a great time to kind of dust that bad boy off, right? I mean, you're running all these personnel packages in and out anyway. So I don't know. So Jaheim Bell, we talk about this every week. What do you kind of make of his comments and that situation out on ugly social media and all that good stuff?
Well, yeah. Look. So first of all, y'all are pretty smart dudes. So and you know, I'm just kind of messing with you when I say this. I really hope y'all aren't spending 10 hours this week trying to figure out this offense on the show. Because you ain't gonna figure it out.
No.
So we could sit here and we could throw every example out we want to about this and that and the other, but it doesn't matter. You're still spinning in the same glass. So
I mean, it's pointless.
Don't waste your breath. It is what it is. As far as the belt, look, I don't think that there's many of us out there. Jaheim, I think DeCarrion has maybe said something. I think somebody else has said something, you know, Rattler's comments last week, you know, they're all kind of hinting around what everybody else kind of says openly, like this doesn't work. But with that said, and I'm not saying that I disagree with them because I don't. You can't have your players. You got to tighten the circle. You just can't have it. And, you know, and I understand totally where Jaheim is coming from. I understand where DeCarrion would be coming from. I understand where these guys are coming from. I understand, you know, when Rattler's like, you know, we weren't prepared. You know, Eric Douglas says every time they put a hand in the air, they knew exactly what we were doing. You know, they shifted right into it. All right. So when these guys say these things, like they're playing the game, I mean, I would assume they kind of know what they're talking about, but like you got to get that under control. I mean, I know that people don't want to hear that, fans. Like, I'm not saying this in a way of like Shane needs to find a way to hide the issues. We all know what the issues are. Okay. But, you know, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that, like, here's the thing. The more that they say, it's not going to make Shane Beamer just walk in the room and go, hey, Sat, you're fired. Like, that's not going to happen. Okay. And so they got to button it up, and they've got to continue to at least publicly look like they've got a tight group and they're going to move forward together that way. You don't want to air the laundry because that just creates 1,000 spinoff conversations that you don't want to have. Jaheim Bell needs to be playing more. It doesn't matter what anybody says. Like, I don't care what the coaches say or the fans say or this, that, and the other. There's no excuse for one of your best players to play less than 10 snaps a game. That is unbelievably ridiculous. And we all know it. I mean, will they get it adjusted? I don't know. I'll say this, just because everybody likes to talk about it. So here, I'll feed the horse a little bit. And you know me, guys. I'm not. When do I ever cut on a mic and say you should fire this guy? You should fire that guy? I don't do it. I don't do it, and I'm not. You know, because I just don't. If you go get beat at Vanderbilt this weekend and your offense musters 17 points, something like that, not sure you got anything left to lose if you don't make that decision. Just do it, because what are you gaining by not doing it? You're not gaining anything. You've already lost it. It's all out the window. Now you're just grasping for straws, and you have to make a big change. So if that happens, they probably just need to say, hey, look, we're making a change here, and see what happens from there.
Yeah, I was going to say, no, I agree with that, because, you know, Jamie, yesterday I likened it to once you drive the family truckster off the lot, you've committed yourself to using it to go to Wally World, right? So
That's true.
Love it or hate it, it's just the way it is. But I added later, though, I'm like, lose at Vandy, though, I'm willing to walk to Wally World at that point.
Yeah.
But, you could see the visible frustration on Beamer's face. Obviously, the players are frustrated. I mean, Shane at post-game was like, didn't look like he wanted to answer any of those questions, but knew they were coming, right? I mean, that's just the way it is. And I think when you look at it, you can't give a pass to the defense or anything like that. I think that's some of the more pragmatic people are saying, it's like the whole team came out flat. It just didn't look like a complete package. But if you're not playing complimentary football, what do you expect in a situation like that? If you're getting 3 and outs, what are you asking your defense to do at that point? So I don't know. You just got to pull it together for this week. You got one shot, really. You've got basically the season on the line, and then if you make it through, this is why I say don't switch it right now. Heading into Vandy is because if you switch it now, you get basically 3 days to implement a new offense. But if you win this game, you're going to have 3 weeks to do it after Clemson, regardless of what the next 3 games are. So give it a chance, at least for one more game. Sit through it one more time.
Bowl practice,
Yeah.
Jamie, defensively, I did think they left a lot to be desired, especially early in the game. I thought Eli Drinkwitz put on. If you want to see good play calling, go look at Missouri. Somebody here talked about going empty and blamed Rattler of all things by not seeing the weak side blitz. Well, you scheme around that. If they do that every time, then you have a play dialed up that's going to combat that. And when you're in empty, and you call something quick, you have a hot route on, which I don't see the whole lot of that. There's no slants ever. The guys not know how to run. I mean, they have problems running slants, but I think that. That's how you combat that. It's teams that blitz, you're not going to have a lot of time. I mean, that's why they call it a blitz. But anyway, and I'm not defending Spencer Rattler's awareness here because it's tough. But when you're an athlete and you think and you're thinking and you're just concentrating on thinking and not making a mistake, and you got so much to process, you're going to look like you don't know what you're doing half the time. I mean, again, rookie quarterbacks in the NFL. Back to the defense. I thought Drinkwitz dialed him up really well early on. But I'll say this. I thought the defense did enough good. And look, it got back to 17-10 to get Carolina back in the football game. I thought they tightened well enough.
Yeah, they did. And that happens a lot with this defense. You'll turn it on in the second half and go, oh, man, okay, this is much better. I wasn't really – I mean – I was concerned. The 96-yard drive and then the next drive was an 84-yard drive. They both resulted in touchdowns, and that was like, yeah, that ain't good. But, I mean, outside of that, that's 14 points, right? So, okay, it's 14 points. I mean, you can score 14 points. And the issue, though, is that with this offense, when you get behind – you're instantly concerned because they outside of a couple of games here and there. I mean, obviously the Auburn game last year, they started out well and then made a comeback late against Missouri last year in Columbia, Missouri. But generally, when you get off to a rough start, it just continues to be rough. And that's kind of what it was on Saturday. I mean, I was really expecting to see a big game from Jordan Birch. And didn't see that. The Brad Johnson injury obviously probably could have affected some things, but I'm not overly concerned about the defense. I mean, the third down stuff was really troubling early, and yes, you can give your offense some additional chances. The more plays you can run, generally, the more chances you have to score. I don't know if that necessarily applies to us or not, but ideally that's the case. So when you can't get off the field on third down, I mean, that's probably my biggest sticking point with the defense. And I think that overall, though, I mean, what we've learned the last 4 weeks, there's an off week in there. So the last 3 games, but the last 4 weeks is that if this defense doesn't make something special happen and a special teams doesn't make something special happen, the chances of us winning aren't really good, no matter who they're playing. And, there are three phases to football. And it always bothers me when somebody says, yeah, but we wouldn't have won the game if it wasn't for the defense and the special teams. I'm like, well, okay, but I mean, 2/3 of the units on the field were doing a great job. So, like, it's still the same team. It's not like that's actually a special team. No, it's special teams as part of the football program. So, like, yeah, sometimes if that's the way you win a game, I mean, everybody wins a game like that or two. But the issue is that I don't think that South Carolina is capable of winning a game because of the offense. They are capable of winning a game because of the defense and the special teams. So, yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe this weekend they're able to kind of, kick it into gear. And like we said, going into Charlotte and South Carolina State to get the bumps and bruises and feel their way around the field and stuff like that and kind of get back into the mojo a little bit. It's going to be on Marshawn's shoulders. Wow, just a week ago, I felt a lot differently, I think, than most of us do now. I think a lot of people were much more on edge going into Nashville than they dreamed of being 7 days ago.
Yeah, this game's kind of scared me the whole year just because of sort of what happened last year. Sort of, you knew Vandy, looking at their schedule, I didn't really see a win before they played Carolina. They're not going to be scared. And now all of a sudden the Gamecocks can't score. And Vandy's actually very improved on offense. JC Saul says, lose this game and there won't be any bowl practice. And that's been my whole point, Jamie, about Shane not making a move right now. It's obviously a complicated offense. Everybody's said it, even if they don't want to say it. I think you have enough there if Lloyd's healthy with what you got. If you could just try to get back to that second half against Kentucky type showing, explosive plays here and there, enough to win the game, good running, good defense, all that. That's enough to beat Vanderbilt. If you change play callers right now, like say you did it even on Monday, you're only see these guys don't practice Monday through Friday. They have an off day. They practice Sunday. They have an off day, and then Tuesdays when they get the work in, they work on Wednesdays. Thursday's kind of a walkthrough. Friday's kind of a walkthrough, and that's it. There's not 5 days of practice. So you change play callers and you hand them this thing that's basically the mind of one man, so to speak. It could potentially make things worse, and you could go up and lose. And I think that's what Shane's thinking is, somebody today said, good CEOs don't wait. Well, good CEOs do what's right for the entire organization. And what's right for the entire organization, in my opinion, is for South Carolina to win this game Saturday. That's got to be the focus right now. And I think it would almost have been detrimental had they tried to just change gears in 3 days and go up there with even more disorganization.
I mean, how do we know CEOs don't wait? Have you ever had a CEO call you up and say, think about firing this guy, but I'm going to see what he does over the next month? I mean, we don't know what they think. I mean, you can't, everything in apples to apples and oranges to oranges and all that crap. I mean, I ain't getting into all that. I mean, I agree with what you're saying. Like you got to do what you think is best for the entire program. And right now, I mean, it's kind of like the way I see it, like what's worse? You just can the thing and hope for the best, or you keep grinding on what you've got and you just hope that you can have some special things happen in the midst of that. I mean, I don't know. I'll say this, and I'm sure we're coming up on a break, and we can discuss it more. I don't know if anybody's mentioned it or not. I don't have the slightest idea. This has been brought up. I have no idea. I know before the season, this is something that was mentioned to me as a fairly strong possibility in this program. I mean, I know Doty's number 2, but what about the carry-on? I mean, if worse came to worse, snap it and let him run. I mean, there's always going to be the threat of that. Like, you can dumb it down enough to where it's like, roll him out. If he sees a lane, take off. I mean, I don't know. Someone's probably like, well, there's no way. The carry-on had a month to practice for the bowl game. Well, that's true. I know that. I understand that. I'm just like, at this point in time, if it's literally this bad, which right now it kind of is, don't you have to think outside the box a little bit? And it's not like just bring him in the second series or the third series and just let him
not for the one play wonder. That sucks. That's never worked. But give him a whole series. Yeah,
give him a shot. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I'm just darts wall. That's kind of where we are right now. We're trying to figure out who this offense is. Again, I do think it comes back to if Marshawn's healthy, it is serviceable at best, but it's more than likely not what it was on Saturday.
Daddy says more harm's being done by waiting. Here's why that's wrong. Okay, guys, we all would love to pop the balloon and see that happen, right? Yeah, we'd all love that. And then it's somewhat exciting. Oh, there's a new offense. All of a sudden you expect it to be Tecmo Bowl and a new guy, the controller, all of a sudden. No, that there's a human element there you guys are completely missing. And it's not doing any harm to wait. They're not, they've already lost Mazeo Bennett. There's no recruit out there that's just waiting for you to change OCs right now. If anything, it throws recruiting kind of into chaos. You change play callers right now, you probably won't beat Vandy because that's just a whole nother voice, a whole different set of problems. Okay. So I'm absolutely, while you guys, I think Shane Beamer should make a decision after the season and get rid and move on, and they need a new offense. You can't do that in 3 days. So more harm would actually have been done. And because Shane, if he was not a good CEO and just made rash decisions based on emotion, that would be the harm. Because if you lose to Vandy, that's harmful. Okay. You keep it afloat, you beat Vandy, you get to a bowl, that's not harmful. Make a decision after the season. So that's my deal there. And then you go in and take a shot against Florida. There's enough here to win the next two as is. And then RB has some smart ass comment. What's the worst that could happen? Delay of game after coming out of time? No, you don't understand football and how this works. If you're sitting here saying he should fire him right now, or that he's wrong for thinking that, okay? Because you're just wrong. There's 4 games left. There's a game this weekend. You're basically wanting to throw in the towel on the season if you do that. I just don't understand the people out here that think, oh, well, they just need to change play calls. Well, who are you going to give it to? And what good's that going to do? I mean, look, you just keep with what you got. You got enough to win the next 2, get Lloyd back, get production, and go from there. I mean, I'm Mr. This needed to happen last year. Okay. I said that. So I'm not saying, I'm not defending Satterfield. I'm just saying Shane's catching heat because he's not doing it right now. That's a whiny crybaby 3-year-old type of attitude to have. Yeah, I want offense. Now I'm going to change now. And I'm sorry to be that way, but I'm sick of hearing this. I mean, understand that these are human beings playing football. They're not robots. You don't just get, like I said, you get a new guy at the game controller and he's good. You're going to confuse the crap out of everybody else, as even more so if you try to run this system with another play caller in 3 days.
Well, let me ask you a question. I'm just inquiring here because there's nothing that comes to mind, but I'm sure I'm missing something. I mean, as much football as we've watched over the years, I'm talking about excluding South Carolina. Do you have any examples of any programs that just changed play callers right smack dab in the middle of the season and it flipped on a switch? No. Just out of curiosity.
It's never happened here. Spurrier did it with co-coordinators in 05 on defense, and it worked. But he did it. I mean, it was just the 2 guys were running the same same defense. Nix and Thompson had worked together before. He just gave one the play sheet and said, do this. And then Thompson, and that was it. I mean, that was a completely different story, So,
yeah. Well, I mean, I'm just trying to think offensively, even in the SEC, wherever. The SEC would probably be a better example because we know what we're going to see in this league week in and week out. What example is out there where it's like this guy said after 6, 7, 8 games, you're out, you've got the play sheet, you call it, and we know that, well, that day is when it changed. They just started scoring points and winning games. I just don't have an example. I'm just curious if there's anything out there because I don't know.
I'm trying to think.
Not that I'm aware of.
Florida, I guess bad as Florida, whatnot. Yeah,
here's kind of my point with that. We generally know about it when it happens. even if they don't come out and say it, it generally leaks. All right. And you generally remember it. So I don't think it happens ever, really. Like you might have a guy that for whatever reason has to call a game, or he gets in and calls a series. I mean, I know Junior used to call some series here and there. I know that, GA, of course, did. JC, you and I've talked privately about some other things that have happened from time to time at South Carolina, but that's not just totally taking the keys and just handing it over. And so I if it doesn't happen often, there's obviously a reason for that, because this conversation is not exclusive to South Carolina. There have been many schools who have been like, this offense is unbelievably awful. What are we doing here? And yet they don't make a change till the end of the season. So I guess the question is why.
Yeah, because they don't want to make things worse. Somebody pointed out Georgia Tech. Jeff Collins was not calling plays. He's a defensive coordinator by trade, and
that's right.
They just, and now look, I've seen head coaches get fired and the team plays better. I get that. In the Spurrier era, it was they kind of all four took turns, so it's not like they switched up when Spurrier left to just Mangus, and Elliott wasn't. I mean, Mangus was calling it, but Elliott was sitting there. The Junior was in the booth, same thing. Chambers says something about change the mind behind the offense, have another mind of voice. The time to have done that may have been the open date. And look, I'll say this too. I don't agree with the notion that if they get to a bowl and they have to make a change that, you got to just stick with him through the bowl either. I mean, I think that's time. I just think that this game this weekend is too important just to get, to cave to the masses and to be emotional about it and say, oh, we can't do this. We got to get a new voice in there. And then there's a whole matter of who do you give it to? I mean, on the staff, there's just not a whole lot there. Don said Spurrier would jump in and call a game here and there. No, that's not how that worked, Don. And that's the problem here is everybody's thinking Steve Spurrier this, Steve Spurrier that. That's not how it works. Spurrier's on the headset talking to people, sometimes they change play callers in the middle of the game. Okay. Just that's how that happened. You're talking about, and the players knew the system. You're talking about now players still don't know the system. It's game 8. They're confused still. You have a situation where it's very complex. And then you're just going to throw a new play caller in on top of that and lose to Vandy and the season's going to, no, I don't think so. Because the bottom line is, as bad as this offense has been, this team as a whole is good enough to win the next 2 games. I'm not saying they will, but I just don't think that handing it off to either A graduate assistant, B, a guy that's coached his entire career and called plays in the NFL, and he would be the guy I would want to do it if it was happening, or C, a guy that's your wide receivers coach that's never called plays, or your special teams coach. I just don't think that's the answer in 3 days. If they lose, it's a different story. But, people sitting here saying Shane Beamer's making a mistake. Shane Beamer would be doing something that like no other coaches do, right? No other coaches do. This isn't like it's common, like the NFL where they fire a coordinator in the middle of the year. That just doesn't happen. And I think that he's right in the sense that you got to kind of circle the wagons and go try to win. And then after the season, man, you want to get upset if he doesn't make a move, fine. I'm right there with you. But, this whole frustration with Shane and people talking about not extending his contract and all this other stuff, it's crybaby bullcrap is what it is. Yeah, I didn't get my way. I want it now. Unfortunately, that's the way of the world. So, you got to sit there and do that. And Queasy says all anyone's asked is to throw a slant every once in a while. Man, I agree.
Yeah. Hey, look, exactly. Let's simplify this whole conversation. Play your best players and run plays that they know how to run. Spurrier ran about 12 plays in his career at South Carolina. I mean, honestly, that's pretty much about it. I mean, ask anybody to play for him. I know 200 of those guys.
Yeah.
It was not hard. It just wasn't. Steve had a simple offense. He had about 10, 12 plays that they really, truly stuck to. They ran them out of different formations. He taught his wide receivers how to find a soft spot in the defense, and he's taught his quarterbacks how to throw guys open. throw to a spot on the field. He was always about throwing to a spot on the field, right? So that's kind of it, I mean, and most importantly on top of that is he identified matchups. And so he knew going into a game where they had a better matchup. Didn't matter who the opponent was or what the team, Alabama, Vanderbilt, didn't matter. He identified matchups. And when he knew he had a matchup, they were going to focus on that. And then the rest of it just ties strictly into his offense. I mean, I talked to Stephen Garcia about this 2 weeks ago at Michael's condo, just about how Coach Spurrier, and that's why he was so hard on you as a quarterback, right? Because he was like, yeah, Stephen, it really ain't that hard. Just throw the ball. I mean, like, that's one of the reasons he was so hard on you. Like, I'm not teaching you to be, Brett Favre. I don't need to teach you to be that. I need you to be you, and this is how you're going to do it. So yeah, it's a tough conversation to have because I really like this team and I really like this talent on offense. So I think we all do. And it stinks to see him. I told you guys, I've already said this. This is a broken record. What year is this? 2022. We're going to look up in 2025 and you're going to go, my God, we got how many guys starting in the NFL on offense? And that team scored how many points a game?
Yeah, say like 27 teams that way now.
Mm-hmm.
To answer your question,
exactly.
Tristan, you absolutely want to go to a bowl game. Nobody really cares if you care. Who cares is recruits, fans, trajectory of the program. You never want to miss a bowl game. That's ridiculous. The season's big hopes are over. It's about the future now. No, it's not. It's about beating Vanderbilt. I'm sorry you're frustrated. I like you a lot, but come on, man. You want to be sitting here with a loss to Vandy? That's embarrassing. That kind of crap is what hurts recruiting. This whole notion of let's jump off the building now because they lost one game and give up on this year because we don't like the OC is sad and ridiculous. And it's not what winners do. It's not what winners do. So that's my thing there. Boise State fired their OC after 4 games this year, and they're now 6-2. Who'd they replace them with? I'd like to know more about that.
I would too. That's interesting. And I didn't ask that question to be a jerk. I literally was asking the question because I don't know.
I can't think of anything, and especially if you did it like in a day or in a week, like you would have had to have done this week.
In the SEC and all offenses are not comparable, right? I mean, we could be talking about apples and oranges. It could just be the play caller, not the scheme. Here,
because
it's a lot more than just the play call.
Mm-hmm.
I think RB had a good idea earlier. Maybe he said, "Well, don't fire Sad, just have somebody else call it." I think if I were Shane, what I would do is get more people involved with the down-to-down decisions. I don't know who's in the press box now because Atkins was supposed to be there. Who's in the press box? Who's the eye in the sky?
Guess Teasley's up there. Isn't Jody right up there too, or am I wrong?
Jody's probably up there. Yeah, Teasley's on the sideline. So, maybe somebody, maybe somebody needs to be making suggestions. How about that? Strong suggestions.
And maybe they are. I mean, that's the thing. It's all speculative. I mean, none of us have a headset on game day. I mean, we have good sources and resources. We hear things. We get told things. I mean, but, I mean, I don't know. I mean, we can have the conversation forever and ever and ever. But, like, until Shane calls me and says, hey, man, I just want to give you a headset for the game this weekend so you knew what was going on, I don't know. I mean, and by the way, I highly doubt that Shane's calling any of us and offering us a damn headset. So we don't know what's going on. Maybe they do. Maybe they got a bunch of guys that are involved in this. Maybe that's part of the problem. Maybe it's not. I don't know. All what we do know, it doesn't work. That's what we know.
Yeah. Daddy Obis, the other coaches have to know that has other ideas. They do, but they don't fit into like what they've done. So, or what they're trying to do. So anyway, we got to get to a break. We'll be right back to wrap it up. It's been a passionate Wednesday. I appreciate it. Just want you guys to know, I wasn't necessarily calling you out. I'm kind of talking about the generalness of everything that I've seen, especially on the message boards and stuff today. Just lay off Shane and let him fix it. And letting him fix it doesn't mean demanding you change offensive coordinators the week of a very important game. All right, we'll be back after these messages.
If you're looking to sell or buy multifamily property right here in South Carolina, the Burgesson team of RE/MAX at the Lake can help you get to closing fast and easy. Adam and Derek Burgesson both are very proud Gamecocks and are more than happy to assist you with any of your commercial real estate needs all across the state. You can email Adam at aburgesson@remax.net. That's ABERGESON at remax.net to get your next deal underway. The Burgesson team, proud sponsors of Inside the Gamecocks.
Attention golfers of all ages and skill sets. Former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor will be a full-time golf instructor in the Midlands of South Carolina very, very soon. You want to take advantage of this opportunity. If you're like me and you got to get a whole lot better at golf, or even if you're looking to refine your swing, Meredith is the person you need to go to. She's competing in her final USGA Mid-Amateur Tournament this summer before going full-time into teaching and coaching individuals. If you're in South Carolina, Meredith will be conducting in-person golf lessons at the Country Club of Lexington, half-hour, hour, on course. She'll play 9 or 18 with you. If you're out of state, though, this is really exciting. She'll be conducting virtual lessons. You can send in your swing for her expert analysis. Also, in November, she'll launch an online course with video instruction for all ages and skill levels. Meredith has 20-plus years of knowledge, former SEC golfer, all of that. So contact her on Twitter at MerTaylor, at MERTAYLOR, or go to McKellarEnterprises.org. McKellar spelled MCKELLAR, Enterprises.org. Her email's on the website, so you can connect with her for any other questions. Go get your golf game in order. Take advantage of Meredith Taylor and her services.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
Hey folks, JC here. I've told you about Nana's Porch over and over again. They sponsor our chat box on the show. Don't take my word for it, though. I wanted you to hear from Gamecock pitcher Noah Hall about our sponsor, Nana's Porch. Nana'sPorch.com. Go there. Food truck, catering, whatever you need. Take it away, Noah.
What's up, Gamecock fans? This is pitcher Noah Hall. If you want some delicious food for your event, I suggest visiting Nana'sPorch.com today to find out what they all have to offer. It's really good Southern cuisine based out of Charlotte, my hometown. I hope you guys go check it out. Go Cox and go Nanas.
Hey, man, are you sick and tired of your business computer guy?
Yes, he takes forever to call me back and doesn't always respond to the requests.
Yeah, same here. I'm paying him good money. I constantly have issues, and I'm worried he's not backing up my network and securing it properly.
Oh, I feel that, man. My head hurts, but I have a good lead on a good idea. I'm calling your boy Matthew Odom today from Heritage Digital. Heritage Digital is an IT firm that specializes in making sure your IT network runs like a dream. If you have 1 or 500 employees, it doesn't matter. They do it all for one monthly fee and have clients from South Carolina all the way to California.
Yeah, I heard that monthly fee's low too, so I don't know why I didn't even think of that. Do you have 843-699-1001 as Matt's contact number?
Yeah, man, I sure do that. Or you can go to heritagedigital.com.
Man, I hear they do a no-cost assessment. Boy, this will help me.
Yeah, I bet.
I'm getting on that and encouraging everyone else to do the same. Heritage Digital, 843-699-1001 or heritagedigital.com, a proud sponsor of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
What's up? This is Jaheim Bell with the Gamecocks, and you're now listening to Inside the Gamecocks show with JC and Phil.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Second hour is brought to you by the Burgesson team at RE/MAX at the Lake. Give Adam or Derek a call or shoot them an email at aburgesson, that's ABERGESON, at remax.net. We're joined, of course, because it's Wednesday, by Jamie Bradford on the McKellar Enterprises guest line. And Jamie, specifically about this week coming up. So we've seen this team beat better teams than Vanderbilt with a healthy Marshawn Lloyd in spite of ourselves, right? That's how we've been winning these games this year. So what is your sense going into this one? I think that's one of the strongest cases for not, making an immediate changes. You're just going to throw gas on the flame that's already in your house. because you have been able to produce, wins in spite of ourselves. So how are you feeling going into Vandy, man?
Yeah, I mean, look, I feel defensively, I think they're going to be okay. I like those kids on offense for Vanderbilt, man. They're working hard, and it's kind of a blue collar bunch. They're searching for their first win. The quarterback's playing his tail off, but you'd like to think that defensively, South Carolina, although they probably might have a hiccup or two early in the game, is going to be okay. Offensively, I think this is the first time that I have even really felt decent about saying this. I do think message received. I think you're going to see a lot of Jaheim Bell as long as Marshawn's healthy, which from what I understand, he's okay. He's fine. You're going to see a lot of Marshawn. Don't know about the rest of them, but here's the only thing with that, though, is like, in what role will we see Jaheim Bell? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, because there's been a lot of times this year where they've just run him out on the field and just kind of pitched him the ball, and you're not really giving him a chance to work in space, like throwing the ball and give him a chance to work in space. You got a 3rd and 8 and you find him for 10, 12 yards. Like, give him a chance to make big plays. Like, don't just use him because you got to use him. Use him to allow big things to happen for your football program, right? And so I do think he's going to be on the field a lot. In what ways will he be used? I have no idea. As far as what's going to happen up there, guys, if anything happens but a win, don't even want to think about it. You really don't. And it could be a grind. I mean, it could be. I mean, Vanderbilt is in search of a win. They know that there's a South Carolina team that's probably lost a little confidence, is limping around a little bit. They know that, at least publicly, it looks like there could be some issues going on, whether there are or are not. I don't know that answer. But, Vanderbilt's very much aware of this, and they're going to look to take that as an opportunity to beat the Gamecocks this weekend and end a 14-game losing streak or whatever it is. I mean, something crazy. But I think they'll win. And I don't think it'll be pretty, but I do think that they'll win, and that'll get them into bowl season.
Jay Diz says, what good OC would come here now the honeymoon period's over? All the pressure will be on the OC to win.
Hold on. Let me answer
that's
that.
Wrong, and wrong.
Well,
and,
let me answer that. Let me tell you how do you get a good OC. Have good players and have some money. And they've got both. All right. That's it. Offensive coordinator, guys, that's it. They're like, yeah, you don't want to go to some, doofus program where the coach is maybe on the verge of getting fired. That's not the case here at South Carolina. They have good players and they've got money. They can get a good offensive coordinator.
Yeah, and I'm relish the opportunity to come in with these players and be like, see, here's how you could have done it last year.
Absolutely. And one of the things too, one of the things in this conversation, again, I'm more focused on them beating Vanderbilt this weekend than, what's going to happen in the offseason. But one of the things about it too is this is a good thing, and I don't want to call it a bad thing, but maybe I don't know if it's a weakness, but definitely something that Shane probably can improve on. He'd probably tell you this behind closed doors as a coach. Good coaches in any sport, right? They want to go coach for coaches that will let them coach. They don't want to have their hands tied behind their back. They don't want to go to a program in football, baseball, basketball. If you're a pitching coach and you go to you take a job at a big time school and you got the head coach sitting there go, throw curveball. I'm the pitching coach. Let me call the damn pitches. Like that. You don't want to coach for a guy like that. You don't want to be an OC at a school. Yeah, every once in a while you're going to have the head coach who's going to say, no, this is what we're going to do here. That's his job. He's a head coach. But you don't want to go to a school where the head coach is like, let me tell you how to do your job every single day. Shane lets his coaches coach. And so actually, if you look at it, that's what I'm saying. Maybe that's something that he would internally say, I need to improve on that a little bit. Maybe I do need to have a little bit more control over things and insert my opinion more than I have. Maybe he does. I don't know. I'm just speculating on that point. But Shane is a guy that you would want to coach for because he lets you get out there and coach your position, run your offense, run your defense, run your special teams, and then he oversees it from there. There's a lot of people that would be interested at South Carolina. It's the SEC. It's a lot of money. And as long as they don't all hit the transfer portal, you're going to have a bunch of talent there that you can come in and coach. And somebody out there, if Spencer Rattler returns, is going to go, ooh, yeah, give him to me. Give him to me. I'll take him. I'll take him all day. Here's what he can do.
Vanderbilt is last in the SEC in total defense. They're one of the worst in the country, 470.5 yards per game. That said, they did hold Missouri down pretty well second half, and they've played Wake Forest, Alabama, Ole Miss, Georgia.
Right.
Those are pretty good offensive football teams.
Yeah,
they play.
Yeah, exactly.
Put
that in perspective.
I think that's kind of interesting.
You can throw that stat out the window this weekend. That means nothing.
Gave up 28 in Northern Illinois, 31 to Elon. Had a good game against Hawaii and 63-10 win at the beginning of the year. But so that's the deal there. Yeah, and I think they're much improved on offense this year. They're coming along. I mean, and they're probably looking at this because they got Kentucky on the road, Florida at home, and Tennessee after the Gamecocks. They're probably looking at this as like this is the chance. This is the chance for us to get a win. I mean, they're 3-5 overall, just 0-4 in the SEC. So pretty good Vanderbilt team coming up this weekend. Jamie, we really appreciate it. And hopefully we're not sitting here talking about a loss to Vandy next week. It's one of those things where I don't think it'll happen. I think Carolina will go up there and probably play pretty well offensively and defensively and win the game. But it's possible. It's not something you just go, there's no way they're going to lose, because it's certainly possible. We really appreciate you taking the time today, man, as always.
Yep, we appreciate it too. And go Cox, and don't quit on them. Don't quit on the kids, man. Keep pulling for them. Keep watching them, and sell out that last home game at Carolina against Tennessee. Don't let those Vols fans. Hey, even if we get beat, you don't want to get beat in front of 15,000 Orange fans with freaking Rocky Top playing as loud as it can. Sell it out, get in there and support the kids, and let's see what happens.
Jamie Bradford, ladies and gentlemen, every Wednesday right here on the show, Inside the Gamecocks, the show. We certainly appreciate him doing that. I had some iHelp Consulting mailbag questions. We'll get to those tomorrow. And go from there. Daddy-O says South Carolina should win 56-10. That'd be impressive. Hey, you go get them. Like that. I think you get pretty confident going to the Swamp the next week.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right, guys. It's been kind of I've been fired up today, and I just want to know, all you folks in the chat box and stuff, I appreciate you. Don't go away just because JC got a little fired up. Okay, I appreciate you guys being here, and we normally have a lot of fun, and that's fun too. But it's just I guess I'm one that always likes to compartmentalize, Phil. I like to say, okay, well, this is something Shane has to fix. Let's not go crazy and ignore all the good he's done and say, he's terrible. Fire the head coach or whatever. I think that can get you in trouble, and I think that sets a bad tone for your program. And I think, quite frankly, most of you guys, Daddy-O says, we're all in this together. I think a lot of you guys are better than that. And I don't think you're necessarily dumb or wrong or anything. I think you're just like looking for solutions like the rest of us. But just be careful with some of the Shane stuff. I mean, Shane deserves criticism for making this hire. He's responsible. But I think most coaches, no matter who they are, deserve a chance to fix things, because just about every coach in the country's made an assistant coach hire, and they go, God, this isn't working.
That was not the right one. Sorry. Here, we're going to fix it. Yeah.
And to the guy earlier that says they can't attract anybody, how attractive was the Clemson job without CJ Spiller, James Davis, any of those guys, when they had to fire Napier after the 6 and 7 year, getting beat by Carolina, and Nat Dabo was definitely on the hot seat.
Yep. And how attractive would it be knowing that the head coach just fired that other guy in the middle of the season because he was feeling the pressure from the fan base and the media?
Yeah, see, that kind of thing can hurt you too. All right, Phil. Well, we'll talk tomorrow. For Phil Mullinax, JC Sherbert, it's been Inside the Gamecocks show. Don't forget, you can catch this on podcast format if you missed something. Also on our YouTube page, youtube.com/The Big Spur. We'll talk to you guys.